Trading Card Game Online video. Today we're going to do something a little different, but I also want to upload a few videos today, so as not to just give y'all something you might not want. But today is we're going to learn how to play Pokemon, both in the online sense and just in general. So I didn't want to start a new account for this for obvious reasons, but I'm going to take you guys through how, basically how to get your new account off the ground. Now, when you first make an account, you get a tutorial. I would recommend playing that tutorial. The tutorial does a really good job of how to play Pokemon. I played Pokemon way back in the day. I think a lot of us did, if we're in our late teens, early 20s. Maybe not all of us, but I definitely was aware of the card game back in the day, but I hadn't played in a long time, and I definitely haven't played since a lot of the new rules and expansions and stuff like that. Tutorial did a really good job of at least getting me into the game, and from there, one of the things that I really like about the Pokemon trading card game, the online client anyway, at least in my experience, is that I really got to learn step by step. I mean, at first, when I knew nothing about GXs, EXs, hell, tag teams, which, are still a new thing now, kind of dating this video, but, when you don't know anything about any of those guys, well, you don't really have to learn, because I don't think any theme deck comes with one, and I would definitely recommend playing with the theme decks first. So, getting into it, I don't remember exactly the coins and tickets that a new account starts off with, so I'm not going to talk about that. But once you complete your tutorial, you should get 3 decks, which are the Born of Fire, Hidden Depths, and Crushing Current. Now, somehow, I don't remember how you get it, but I remember it's really early on. Somehow you get this this 4th deck, which is Mental Might. I don't understand why, but you can't play Mental Might in the Trainer Challenge, which is fine, whatever. But anyway, so with these 3 decks, we're not even going to talk about Mental Might. With these 3 decks, right out of the gate, the first thing you should do, if you're new to Pokemon, if you're new to the client and don't really have a lot of cards, is to play the Trainer Challenges. They're a good way of getting packs, of getting to know the game, of getting to know the layout of Pokemon in general. And so today I'm not going to play the first guy. Well, I guess I am, but I'm going to play him in the Platinum League. So how this is even set up is there's 3 leagues, the Gold, Platinum, City Championship. The difficulty goes up, as you would imagine, and basically you can rematch people you can rematch people an indefinite number of times, but there's really no point in rematching them after the 4th, because you get a pack. And yeah, every trainer has a pack to give you if you beat them 4 times. And this is true with the Gold, Platinum, and City Championship League, as you can see here. I still have a little bit of grinding to do. It does kind of get boring, and I would much rather be playing real humans eventually, or even just not themed decks. But I understand why they do it, and I'm not hating on anything like that. So one really cool thing about the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online client, if you do not know, is a lot of merchandise. A lot of merchandise actually comes with a code, so you can get the product online, which is really nice for starter decks and really nice if you want to play in real life and in the game, which is how I have a lot of these starter decks that I do. Now, if that's not your thing, you don't want to spend real money, well, never fear. We can totally buy some starter decks with coins. Every starter deck is 500 coins, and they have every set essentially that's legal in the game, going all the way back to the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which this is the only way you can get those decks due to codes not being in I don't know when codes were. I don't know when codes were put into decks, but I know it wasn't in the original Heart Gold Soul Silver. Might be an Unleashed. I really don't know. Wonder if any of these will say like play this deck online. Because I feel like that would have been a selling point. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Point is, another really cool thing that's with the trainer challenges is every single one of these decks has, you might have noticed, has like a counter right here. That's because if you win 12 matches with these decks, you'll actually get a booster pack from whatever set this deck is from. So for example, I don't remember what the like online starter decks give you, because it was a while ago that I completed those. But like for example, if we do the Heart Gold Soul Silver deck and get 12 wins, we will get a Heart Gold Soul Silver pack. Out of all the like TCG clients I've ever played, by far this is just the most rewarding to new players who really don't want to spend money. And whatever money you spend, because you know I've spent money on this trading card game, whatever money you spend, you feel really okay about it because you get both the physical product and a digital product, unless you're buying from like really old sets. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into a game against a bot, and I'll kind of show you exactly what we're doing here. Now, I really need to finish up the Heart Gold Soul Silver decks. I will tell you guys, and I'm a fan of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I'm a fan of Gold and Silver in general, and I love this starter trio. It's probably one of my favorite trios. I think all of them are pretty awesome, but there is a clear lack in quality from these starter decks to new starter decks. New starter decks are like actually pretty genuinely like awesome. These starter decks are little worse, but whatever, you can still win games with them. I'm just saying, especially since they don't have an online code, I would only buy them for the eventual free Heart Gold Soul Silver pack. Anyway, or if you just really like the Pokemon like me. Anyway, okay. So when you start a game, you draw 7 cards. This is the first rule of the game. Now, there is no mulligan. If you come from like Magic or something, you don't mulligan unless, there's an asterisk by that, unless you don't have a basic Pokemon. Now, how can we tell what a basic Pokemon is? Well, right under the name of every Pokemon, it'll say if it's a basic, a stage 1, or a stage 2. And if it is a stage 1 or stage 2, it'll show you what Pokemon it needs to evolve from. Now, we drew nothing but basic Pokemon. So now we just pretty much have to decide who do we keep and who do we put on the bench and who do we not. Who do we put as our active? Now, the difference is the active Pokemon is who you can attack with. Your benched Pokemon is essentially, imagine the forces, like your army that you're building up. So like, for example, I'm going to put Jinx as my active Pokemon. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because her Mimic attack is really good, in my opinion, for the early game of just setting up some sweepers, quote-unquote. I'll call them sweepers, because I guess for theme decks, these are sweepers, but yeah, anyway. So the Mimic attack is really good. We'll get into attacks in a second, but I'm just telling you why I'm picking my active. And Drowsy as a benched can be really okay, because the Hypno in this deck is, is playable for sure for theme decks. Okay, so every turn you draw a card. That's just so yet again, if you come from Magic, if you go first, you don't draw a card in Magic first, but in Pokemon you do. So first turn, every turn you can play a basic energy. So it doesn't matter on who, you can put it on your active, on your benched. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my active. So now Jinx has 1 basic energy. Well, what does basic energies even mean? Let's get into that. So both of these attacks have basically how much damage they do, an effect that the attack may have, and then a cost to the attack. So the star can be anything. It's a normal energy. It can be anything. It can be psychic, water, fire, grass, electric, any of the types that have basic energies that are in the game. It can be, and it can even be colorless energy, which there is, but that's not a basic energy. At least I don't think there's a colorless basic energy. There may be, but I haven't seen it. And for the sake of any starter deck that I know of, we're not even going to talk about that, because I don't think that even exists. Okay, so Mimic, this first attack, which is the one that I was talking about that I would really like to use, only costs 1 energy. It can be anything. So we're set up. We have this 1 energy attached to Jinx for Mimic. Now, I will go ahead and, just since we're talking about what's on the Pokemon card in general, we're going to go over a few more things. Health. In Pokemon, yet again, if you come from Magic and you know what like toughness is, health is kind of like toughness, except it doesn't refresh after every turn, so to speak. So, say for example, what's his basic? Okay, say for example, this Lickitung lunges at me. We're not even gonna talk about its ability. Let's just say it hits for 50. Well, now my hit points will go down to 20, and that's going to be constant. Unless I heal my Pokemon, which there are cards that do, my health will be 20, no matter if I switch her into the bench, no matter what I do. The only way it can not be at 20 is if I put her back into my hand, which there are cards that do that. But your health will refresh if you play the Pokemon from your hand again. But that's really the only way besides healing. Retreat, nah, that's not going to do anything. The psychic energy besides the health is what type Pokemon I am. So I'm a psychic Pokemon. Now this is really important for weakness and resistance, which we'll get into now. Weakness is whatever type Pokemon does double damage to you. Throughout the game I have noticed a few other weaknesses that aren't ×2, but most of them are ×2. In fact, I'm pretty confident in saying the vast majority of weaknesses are going to be ×2. Now, a lot of types of cards have very similar weaknesses. So, for example, most psychic cards have psychic weakness. Most grass cards have fire weakness. Most normal cards have fighting weakness. I was going to say that before I even saw the card. And yes, what do you know? It has a fighting weakness. This is not, yet again, always the case. And if you are going to have just one type of card in your deck, like Psychic, for example, I would heavily recommend you do at least have multiple different types of weaknesses, as not to get bodied by just one, a type of deck that you just happen to be weak against. Now, resistance. Not all cards have resistances. In fact, I think the majority of cards probably don't. But a resistance is essentially what types would do less damage against you. Most resistances are, I want to say, -30, -20. Most of them are not like half. In fact, I don't think there's any that's just take half damage. That would be really nice, though. But resistances are normally -20 or 30. I can't remember which. I think it's 30, but it might be 20. However, a lot of cards don't have them. I would say the majority don't. But it is something to keep in mind. So if you're wondering why your attacks may be doing less, make sure you're checking their resistance. Now, the last thing down here is the retreat cost, which is how much energy it takes to essentially switch Jinx with anybody on my bench, which the only person on my bench right now would be Drowsy. Now, the thing to keep in mind with retreat cost, though, is you are discarding the energy from your Pokemon. So it's not like I can just infinitely retreat them as long as I have 1 energy. No, I actually have to put this 1 energy into the graveyard. Retreating is mainly used for like if you don't want to die yet, maybe you didn't get the draws you were looking for and you need to evolve your Pokemon, well, you can retreat. Another strategy I see a lot is maybe switching them out with an item or supporter or tool, whatever. I don't think tools switch, but anyway, switching them out with a trainer card, and then using retreat to switch them back in. This can be useful in certain situations, but retreats definitely have its use, and keep in mind sometimes the best offense can be a great defense, and vice versa. So retreating is an option that we always want to know, want to keep in mind. Anyway, so let's get down to the cards we have in our hand. So this is an older format. I don't think trainer cards were just separated into supporter and trainer. But there are still, 3 types of trainer cards outside of supporters. We'll talk about those. So the one here, supporter, we can play one of these per turn. It says it right here, and then that's it. We can play multiple trainer cards or items, for example, or tools or stadiums, but we can only play one supporter. Now, this is really great because if you remember how the old Pokemon game worked, you could just do ridiculous stuff with like Professor Oak back in the day and the original Bill. You could do a lot of ridiculous stuff by just playing multiple copies of each. So Bill has not aged well with the new supporter rule, but essentially draw 2 cards, and that's the one supporter. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And it was a decent pools. I like Professor Elm's training method, but you see now, I can't play another Bill, even if I wanted to. I can't play Professor Oak, and I can't play Professor Elm. Basically, I can't do anything. So you can only play 1 energy per turn, which we did. You can only play 1 supporter per turn, which we did. And the only other trainer card I have in my hand is an item, which says, choose one of your Pokemon. Flip 2 coins for each heads. Remove 3 damage counters from that Pokemon. I don't have any damage counters. The only thing I can do is retreat, which brings me to this. The only thing you really can't do on your first turn is attack. There still may be an exception to the rule, like most really long TCGs, really long-running TCGs. There's a lot of examples to the rules, but generally speaking, we can't evolve a Pokemon the turn it's played, and we can't attack on the first turn of the game. So I'm going to pass turn. So it's our opponent's turn. He's going to play an energy on Lickitung. Oh, he's going to play a tool, which is nice. We get to talk about tools now. So a tool is essentially an item card. It's a trainer, but it's an item, but it's a specific kind of item. Only one tool can be placed on one Pokemon. So if you have a tool on it, you cannot place more than one tool. Now, this tool says, the Pokemon this card is attached to can't be affected by any special conditions, which we can get into later, but essentially that's sleep, confused, paralyzed, poisoned, and am I forgetting one? Burned. I think that's all of them. I think there's 5, and I think that's all of them. So he can't be affected by any of those, which, okay, so my lick does paralyze, so that's whatever. We'll give him that. Anyway, we're going to play our Drowsy onto the bench. Not all the time, but a lot of times you just want to have as many Pokemon on the bench as possible. There are some strategies that can abuse this, so you want to be cautious of that. But let's just, for sake of simplicity, say that when you're starting off, you're going to want to put most of your Pokemon on the bench. I'm going to play another Bill, just to get some card draw. Okay, we have Croconaw, which is good. But I'm not happy enough with this hand. I'm going to go ahead and Mimic. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Alright. So, you might be wondering to yourself, or maybe you're not, maybe you understand, but just so we go over everything, what our opponent is doing. Now, keep in mind he's an AI. AI in this game are pretty bad, but that's okay, because they kind of need to be. But he can't attack right now because this attack costs 3 energy. And remember, it can be any color energy, so he has a grass and a psychic. But he basically can't do anything. He can't retreat, he can't attack. He's just kind of building up his Lickitung for an attack. Now, we're going to spin the wheel again, because I'm not happy with this hand either. Maybe we should have just waited for Professor Oak. Now, if I had a Pokemon, basically, that I liked better, we probably should have put an energy on him, but what is he doing? Trainer's mail? Okay, whatever. But yeah, you generally want to play an energy per turn no matter what. However, I know this deck pretty well, and I know what these guys evolve from. Or, not these guys. Jinx doesn't have an evolve form. Drowsy, I know what Drowsy evolves into, and it's okay. We're going to Mimic again. I'm really just looking for something to play. Okay, Slowpoke is definitely something I can get behind. Alright, so with the lunge ability, I think we've already read this, but just so we're all on the same page, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. Well, he's been flipping a few coins, so that really kind of sucks for him. Alright, we're going to Mimic again, just to keep shuffling this. Okay, awesome. Slowbro, that's actually really what we were looking for. Repeat ball, huh? Okay. So, I'm not, the AI does play kind of fast. I'm not going to really go over everything they do. Because yet again, it's just kind of fast. Okay, so I do want to point out though, remember, the turn we played Slowpoke, we couldn't evolve him, but now we can evolve him. So let's look at what Slowbro does. Okay, Electric Weakness, Retreat Cost of 2, 90 health. For a theme deck, that's okay. So Big Yawn, 30 damage. Both Slowbro and the defending Pokemon are now asleep. Now, the unfortunate thing about this is with Lickitung, he can't be put to sleep. So this is kind of useless against Lickitung, but Mad Kinesis is 30 plus. Now you'll see this a lot in Pokemon. Is 30 like a number and then plus, or a number and then times, sometimes even a number and then minus. And so it will always do, or it will always be due to whatever the effect of the attack is. So Mad Kinesis is 3 colorless energy. So remember, that can be anything. And it says does 30 damage plus 20 more damage for each psychic energy attached to Slowbro. Well, that can go up to as many psychic energies as you have in the deck. So this can be a really deadly attack. We are going to put a water energy on him just so we have options here for Big Yawn or Mad Kinesis eventually. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and okay. Alright. Okay. So he knocked out my Jinx, and now I have to put a new active Pokemon on. Well, right now we're trying to build up our Slowbro. I would much rather sacrifice this Drowsy with nothing on it than sacrificing my Slowbro, or the Drowsy with something on it. Okay, awesome. We have enough for Mad Kinesis now. It'll only do 70 though. Lickitung has 90. So if we get another Psychic Energy, that's actually kind of a good thing. Now something else to point out. So once he killed my Jinx, he gets to pick a prize card. I actually should go over prize cards now. So at the beginning of every game, you get 6 prize cards. This is essentially how many Pokemon you need to knock out to win the game. So on paper, every player has to knock out 6 Pokemon to win the game. Other ways of winning is if the opponent or you can't draw a card, then the opposing player wins the game. So if the opponent can't draw a card, you win the game. If you can't draw a card, the opponent wins the game. Now this only matters if you can't draw a card, like you have 0 cards in your deck at that time, and you go to draw a card and you can't, well then you lose. Or if you don't have any Pokemon in your bench or active, so you have 0 Pokemon on the board, you immediately lose. So there are of course exceptions to really the 1 prize per Pokemon rule, but we're not going to get into that now. So as of right now, there's really nothing I can do because we're really wanting another psychic energy so Slowbro can just come in one shot like a tongue. But we have no energy to retreat this guy. So there's really nothing we can do here. I guess I should have, I'm used to just playing and assuming you guys would know what's going on, but we'll go over this as well. So Pokeball is a trainer card, it's an item. And it says, flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for a Pokemon, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. The original fetch card, it's kind of outdated, but it's still good. The reason it's good is because there's no like limit to what you can get. As long as it's a Pokemon card, you can grab it, which is nice because a lot of other fetch cards have like you can only get a basic Pokemon, or you can only get an evolved Pokemon, or what have you. Okay, so now we have our third Psychic Energy on Slowbro, so he can hit for 90 as soon as he comes out. So essentially what we're doing here is we are kind of wanting to sweep his team. I drew another Psychic Energy, which is really good in case I need to hit harder. But this should be fine. So 30 base damage plus 20, 50, 70, 90, right? So that's how we're getting this number. 30 base damage, 20 for each Psychic, so that's 20, 40, 60 extra. That's going to be 90 damage. Boom. Hit him for 90, knocked out his active Pokemon. We get to draw a prize card. You can draw any prize card. I go in order, whatever. We got a Water Energy as a prize. It's okay. Alright, he's gonna gnaw on us. Cool, I guess. We are going to go ahead. Mad Kinesis. Knock him out. Get him out of here. Take another prize. Totodile. This is actually really good. We can get another one of our heavy hitters out eventually. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I want to go ahead and say here, though, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that the AI are kind of odd. So I feel like he could be like switching out someone who could actually do something, but he's like switching in these Bidoofs who do 10 for 1 energy. You're not going to come across many actual players that are doing this, but hey, whatever. We'll take this. We'll take these prizes if he's just handing them out. Anyway, so after I put Totodile down, because yet again, I know this deck, and each deck is of course going to be different, but I know that eventually this guy can evolve into Feraligatr and be a pretty big threat as far as theme decks are concerned. So this is why every turn now I want to put energy on him until he's big enough to use all of Feraligatr's moves. So I don't have Feraligatr yet, but I know that his moves require a total of 4 energy. I'm just going to put 4 water on them, 4 water energies on them because I have them, and I can't exactly remember the ratio between water and colorless, but I know that Feraligatr has 4 energy for his best move, so I am going to go ahead and build up my Totodile. Yet again, these strategies, your opponent can use strategies to kind of punish you for this or snipe your Pokemon, but in general, especially in theme deck battles, this isn't really going to happen too often. We're going to knock out another one of his Pokemon. So far, he really hasn't had anything over 90 health. Okay, so Skarmory actually has 100 health. So because we want to one-hit Skarmory, we're actually going to put another Psychic Energy onto our Slowbro. So now our Mad Kinesis will do 110. There we go. Getting our 5th prize card. And okay, this should be the end of the game. Just so I know for sure. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20. That's his ability. That's ongoing. So, as long as he's on the field, any damage done to him does 20 less. So this is actually overkill, because now I'm doing 130, which will still be 110. He only has 90 health, but this for 110. We're going to draw our last prize card, and win the game. Now, we're going to go our third star, which means we're one away from getting a pack, and we get some coins. And essentially, this is how I would start off a new account. If you were going to be playing Pokemon TCGO, this is exactly what I would do. I would grind this out, play a lot of theme deck battles with AI, and use the coins that you get and the packs that you get to eventually build a deck, which we will get into that later. I want to do a basic deck building guide, and then maybe like how I build decks, and we'll go from there. Some other things that I want to point out is, if you really do want some human competition, this is where we pick our formats, essentially. Standard is the most recent sets. Expanded is basically, I think, all the way up until X and Y. I think it's everything from X and Y all the way up until now. And then Legacy is its own format. I'm pretty sure from Heart Gold, Soul Silver to the end of Black and White. I could be wrong about exactly the formats, but anyway, what we're specifically wanting to look at is the theme format here, which is where we can battle theme decks against other theme decks. Like I said, although in recent years all theme decks are kind of made equal, I will say that in general, not all theme decks are created equally. There are definitely some better theme decks than others. I would say Stormcaller is one of the best theme decks I have. Tropical Takedown is one of the best theme decks I have. And generally speaking, new theme decks, I would say at least from Sun and Moon, are going to be better than most theme decks outside of Sun and Moon. Which is good if you want to build a deck, because most theme decks can actually now be used to make decent standard decks. But we'll get into all that later and more. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash that like button. Leave a comment telling me if anything confused you. I'd love to, I'd love to get people into this game. I think it's a really fun TCG that has a lot of depth, and I want to see more competition on here. So I'd love for you guys to get into it, and of course subscribe for more Pokemon videos and Smite videos. I guess I can do both now. And we'll see you next time.